Vancouver Resource Investment Conference 2017. Ladies and gentlemen, very warm welcome, and it's my pleasure and honor here. I have the #1 newsletter here from the American Continent Exploration Insights here. Brent and Joe Mazumdar are with me, and we want to talk a little bit about metals, about precious metals, about the markets, and what are their ideas for 2017. Guys, welcome. I'm pretty happy to have you here, and we want to start with
Jochen, it's great to see you again. I think we did this last year at this show,
Yes,
didn't
exactly
we?
1 year before.
Yeah,
we did that ago.
And I think I was just turning positive. In fact, last year in November, Joe joined up with Exploration Insights because we thought things were getting better. Turned out that way. Joe came on and bought, or recommended, not recommended, we bought 4 stocks that were acquired. Another one is still waiting to be acquired. So it worked out well. And I think this year, I'll talk precious metals, let Joe talk base and uranium. But to me, the setup for precious metals, gold in particular, looks pretty good. I think with the new administration, we're going to see a lot more protectionism, downing of the US dollar going down in value, and in general, chaos throughout the world. So that's my guess on gold, and I think it's probably a good place to be.
Yeah, and don't forget the black swans in Europe may be arising with elections in France, Netherlands, Germany, Italy. Yeah, so there could be some surprises.
It's going to be a crazy year. I wouldn't doubt if the European Union falls apart.
Yeah, it's all possible.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So what are your thoughts, especially on the precious metal side? I mean, gold and silver, we saw already some uptick in January, and I think I just checked it, 12.18, 12.19 we are. What could you imagine price-wise? Let's say 2 possibilities. We have like a normal year, or we get the black swans in addition.
My expectation is by the end of the year we'll be at 13 something, but that's just a guess. I think it's going up. Basically, I think it's going up, and I think there's a lot of reasons why the gold price should be going up. I'm not going to guess a price. Or if you want one, I'll say $13.21. $1,321.
Okay.
How's that? Mark that down. 1,300.
No, but it means you are really positive, and you can imagine that it could go much, much higher than we saw to start here.
I hope not.
Yeah.
If it goes much, much higher, we got a problem.
We have
slow
a
rise
problem already.
Base metals. Joe just wrote something in the most recent letter, or 2 letters back, and I'll let him talk about that.
Yeah, please. Base metals, Joe, what is your expectation, your view? Let's say copper, zinc, maybe uranium also. Uranium is getting hot. We saw it here on the show already. Some good companies are here showing up. I did also some interviews with experts, and it looks like the market is coming back. Yeah.
Well, I guess we could start with zinc, because last year zinc was probably the highest performing base metal. I think it was up for the year about 50%.
Yeah.
And you can see that in the zinc stocks, especially some developers or explorers in zinc. So I think a lot of the zinc imbalance or the deficit in zinc, that's more embedded in the zinc stocks than it is potentially in the copper stocks. And what we've seen now is probably in the weeks of consumption for copper in terms of the stocks, it's actually really low. And when I worked as a market analyst for Phelps Dodge, we used to go, if it was below 4 weeks, if there was a disruption that could spike the market, looks like this research I've seen could be within a week, which is very low.
Yeah.
So if that's the situation, if we get a disruption, what we can see is that we want a little bit more exposure than copper stocks right now, and what we have there, because we had Ivanhoe and we also got Cordoba Minerals with respect to exposure to copper. We probably want to look at getting more there. Zinc is still good, but it's harder to get the valuation right now because it's already went up.
Yeah, that's right.
Uranium is interesting because, for me, it's hard. I guess it's a little bit hard to marry the dichotomy right now between what the Cameco CEO is saying with respect to, hey, analysts, your estimates for my earnings are way over what I'm going to actually be able to achieve, so you better bring them down because we're not signing any more long-term contracts and the spot price is $22. And so I think there's a dichotomy between people that are feeling the market right now at 22 and no long-term contracts in terms of producers, and the guys that are looking to explore and develop potentially projects that we're not going to see for 10 years plus, because those ones would fall more in the window of this Chinese expansion of nuclear power plants that everybody's predicting and everybody's talking about, but there's a gap in between that producers have to live through. So how you play that is really up to you, but if we played it again, we'd probably look for an earlier play than a producer, which is how we tried to play it last year.
We're not buying any.
Yeah, right now we're not in it.
Yeah. Okay. So what are your ideas for 2017? I would call. Do you have any special favorites company-wise? You want to mention something?
Well, I think really what we're seeing is last year we had I think 5 or 6 of our companies taken over because they had a high margin deposits that the producers wanted. We would love to do that again, but we cannot find additional companies with deposits that we think are good enough to be taken over. So we're moving down the food chain into much earlier exploration stage companies that we think have their project has the potential to produce a major discovery. And number 2, the people running the company are competent enough to know what they've got, whether good and bad. So that's where we're moving, is earlier stage projects. And I would say Cordoba falls into that range with their project in Colombia. Mirasol Resources, which we've held for a long time, they've got big land packages in Chile and Argentina. Riverside is another one that seems to be doing a good job. Who else have we got in there that would fall into that category?
I would say like the other one we've got might be Nighthawk. Nighthawk's got a big land package in the Northwest Territories, and they hit on some really high-grade pods of mineralization that if you could link those up, 4 or 5 of those, you could show a multi-million-ounce deposit. Kinross just put a stake in them late last year, so that's what we're looking for. We're looking for something that we think will interest the majors, because right now it's not only about them repleting their reserve profile, but they're okay with flat production profiles right now. What they really have an issue with is that not all their production makes sense at the current gold price, such that they need quality deposits, and they're not doing any exploration.
I see. Okay, great. What are, let's say, the biggest challenges for 2017 you could expect, or let's put it that way also, what countries you would avoid to invest? What regions you would avoid, and do you see any problems arising legislation-wise, taxing-wise, meaning do you see any restrictions on the horizon for the mining industry?
Well, I think in the U.S. we'll see less regulations, and that should be positive for companies with U.S. resources. Mexico is getting more difficult, but it's still a good place to be. Places we're not, I don't think we're going to go to Venezuela this year. Most countries that end in Stan probably don't get on our radar screen, although certainly the geology is great. I was in Scandinavia just last year. Well, Scandinavia is
interesting place.
Is a good place to be. It's surprising how little exploration has been done, and the infrastructure is there, the legislation is there. A little company called Orion. They've got a joint venture with B2 Gold on a gold project, looks good. So those are the sorts of places we're looking. And of course the usual places as well. I think Eastern Europe is probably a good place. Anything else?
I would say if we keep on the theme of looking for targets for M&A, we're more concerned about where the companies are comfortable going rather than us. So if they're comfortable with the DRC, we'll go to the DRC. If they're comfortable with West Africa, we'll go there. If they've got problems, and I think what people got to realize, it's regions within countries that are more favorable. It's not just the country. You can't say, I'll never work in Argentina. There's places in Argentina that are good, and there's places that you don't want to be. And you got to understand the same thing about Colombia or any place. So once you can understand that, it's not just one country, then I think you'll do better.
Okay, great. Well, guys, then, thank you very much for that. Anything you want to add? Something important?
I would say I think it's going to be a good year. For precious metals, certainly. And but the key going down into the grassroots things is you've got to look for that fatal flaw. We know that 1 out of 1,000 prospects, on average, turns into a mine. But there's a lot more companies that look like they start to have something and don't. So you've got to do your due diligence. And Joe and I put together a report on fatal flaws that's free to people on our website.
On your website?
On your website. Just go there and you can
check it out.
Yeah, so it's a fatal flaws thing. It's just kind of a list of things to be aware of when you're evaluating an early stage exploration project. That's all I've got to say, really.
Perfect.
Thank you
Great.
so much.
Gentlemen, thank you very much. All the best for the year, of course, and stay healthy. That's the most important thing, beside mining, I would say. And thanks a lot, and I look forward to an update then.
Thank you.
Great, thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, that was Joe Mazumdar and Brent Cook from Exploration Insights. And yeah, you heard it. Positive times for 2017. Definitely looked much better than 1 year ago when we were talking about everything here. And yeah, check out Exploration Insights, fantastic newsletter. Have a look at that and keep well. Thanks and bye-bye from Vancouver.